Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news, and we try to keep it pretty light on the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict. I just want to say that, clearly what's happening there is capturing the world's attention, and, I'm sure that there are more reliable, better news sources and for that than myself. But I do want to say that, we have stories such as how Airbnb has housed 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. You have many companies that are taking a hardline stance against Russia, trying to support the people of Ukraine. It's very impressive how much the technology community in particular has stepped up and, really taken a side in this conflict. Because, I feel like sometimes companies get around it by just saying, we're a faceless organization. We're not going to pick a side. We're just here to do business. That's it. But very clearly, when one has such a disparity between the aggressor and the aggressee, it's very, makes you feel like there are consequences to your actions. It's no longer just, this is Russia's mission and everyone else just needs to stay out of it. No, there's no more staying out of it. You have to pick a side. And it's really, really cool to see how technology companies are stepping up. So just want to give a good shout out to them, though we're not going to cover a lot of those here on the show today. Again, we're going to try to keep it light. We do have, I think, 2 stories having to deal with Russia. But other than that, everything else is going to be off on the wayside. So everyone, welcome into the program, computeramerica.com. This is where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, everything you need to know. You can find it right there. Also, while you're there, be sure to check us out on social media, podcast, and all that good stuff. Twitch.tv/computeramerica if you'd like to join us live as we do these. And you can ask us questions, submit topics of your own, or recommend guests, and we'll do our best to get them on the program. Now, with that being said, everyone, let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. And I think the first one that we're going to do, let me sit up for this because this is some scary stuff. And we were kind of talking about this before the program, and you do these joint ventures together so that, one would hope that you would be deterred from declaring war on your neighbors. And one issue with that is, the CEO of Roscosmos, they are the premier spacefaring company out of Russia. And, he I guess he's known for making incendiary marks, so, this is nothing really out of the ordinary. Back in 2014, he really freaked out, the CEO of this company, Dmitry Rogozin, really freaked out in 2014 when he was specifically targeted with sanctions, and proclaiming that American astronauts could try to reach the station by trampoline. So, clearly he's willing to throw the partnership that he's built with the U.S. to ferry American scientists and astronauts into space. And, his newest statement is this kind of thing where he's like, Russian, and I'm going to paraphrase this for you, but he's saying that Russian rockets are the only way that the International Space Station can maneuver in space, to avoid space objects, space debris, what have you. That's how the entire 350-foot station avoids space debris. And he's saying that if Russia and, if the West continues to aggress against Russia for what it's doing in Ukraine, then wouldn't it be a shame if we dropped the International Space Station onto a U.S. city, onto somewhere in Europe? What if they dropped it somewhere in China or India as well? Wouldn't that be a shame? Yes, the CEO of Roscosmos has threatened to drop the International Space Station onto a city in the U.S. or somewhere on Earth. That really freaked a lot of people out, and you can imagine why. Everyone's just kind of saying, clearly there's a kerfluffle happening with Russia, but let's not kill everyone on the space station and potentially hundreds or thousands more by dropping it onto a major U.S. city. Saying that we will consequently assess for each European institution payload under our responsibility, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that Russia has a fairly robust space transportation program, and the European Space Agency has not really kicked it into full gear. They're fully booked for the next 2 years. Their next rocket that is supposed to, do what SpaceX, for instance, can do, isn't supposed to be up for quite a while now. And the entire spacefaring sector of the economy was really dependent on Russia. And unfortunately, really dependent on the guy that just threatened to drop the entire ISS out of orbit. So I thought that was very, very scary. And I don't think he's going to do it because there are a couple of Russian nationals on the space station as well. It's not like it's just, not like it's just Americans, but still, quite insane. Very, very insane. So, that's story number one. Story number two, we'll see if we can go ahead and, we'll bunch the two Russia stories that we have together, and then we'll move on from there. But, back to what I was saying about, kind of tech companies and how they're taking a stance against Russia, you get articles like this. And, the EU says it will ban Russia's toxic media machine. Social media firms face pressure to act. And you already have Twitter was already limited by Russia, and Twitter is limiting the amount of Russian bots that are promoting content to Ukrainian citizens. You have of course, Facebook, I think, said that they took down a massive Russia troll outlet as well. YouTube has blocked RT and a number of other, so they blocked RT and Sputnik. Both have a number of channels, and Google's YouTube has, of course, blocked them. However, the past few hours, EU officials have been cranking up the public pressure on mainstream tech platforms on the disinformation issue. This is almost like taking it the next step. You could have an instance where, let's say, Alex Jones, who claims that, little kids that were shot to death in U.S. schools were crisis actors. And then he gets deplatformed. One person, one organization, one media news source kind of gets deplatformed from payment and social media and so on and so forth. That was kind of like stage one. We're at stage 5 now, where social media outlets are actually taking down an entire country. Imagine how big of an economy, imagine how much money they put into this, imagine what their audiences are, and how closely tied they are to, so much of what YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, social media does. They are now essentially canceling, and rightfully so, canceling an entire country. It's not easy to do, but it seems like it's going to have to be it seems like it's going to have to be done very, very quickly. So on Saturday, Google announced it had demonetized RT and other Russian-backed channels, but in a video call with the CEO, it reported that they need to go further. Freedom of expression does not cover war propaganda. For too long, content from Russia Today and other Russian state media have amplified by algorithm and proposed as recommended content to people who had never requested it. War propaganda should never be recommended content. What is more, it should have no place on online platforms at all. I can count on the tech industry to take urgent and effective measures to counter disinformation. And yeah, we've been relying on tech platforms to monitor misinformation for the past couple of years now. Can't say it's worked too great, but this is a step beyond COVID misinformation and political misinformation. This is full blown, like they said, war propaganda misinformation. So we'll see. They said that if you start telling lies all the time, you create an atmosphere of hate. This has to be forbidden. There you go. That's what they added. Blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and read. Of the two sanctioned channels, Russia Today appears to be to garner the most eyeballs on YouTube, where it has about 4.5 million subscribers, although content produced by the state-backed media outlet can be found more widely across its platform. And yeah, I would say that as far as RT goes, they have a YouTube channel, but it's like blocking, let's say, MSNBC's YouTube channel. They have other outlets. They just happen to also have a YouTube channel. So it's not really that big of a deal, I think, for RT to lose their YouTube channel, but it does show companies are taking steps to, kind of knock down the stuff as it goes. Now, in a neat illustration of the malicious duality that can be applied to even disinformation reporting tools, Meta said the Russian network it identified had been reporting Ukrainians for violating its policies on coordinated inauthentic behavior, i.e. bots, including as posing as independent news outlets. They said that, quote, they ran websites posing as independent news entities and created fake personas across social media. They said that they were operated from Russia and Ukraine and targeted people in Ukraine across multiple social media platforms and through their own websites. We took down this operation, blocked their domains from being shared on our platform, and shared information with other tech platforms, researchers, and governments. When we disrupted this network on our platform, it had fewer than 4,000 Facebook accounts following, and fewer than 500 accounts following one or more of its Instagram accounts. So, and that's Meta again, kind of showing that a lot of the misinformation that's happening on social media is coming from within Russia, within Ukraine, targeting Ukrainians specifically. I would not be surprised if conflicts like this in the future, and maybe even this conflict, if they just kind of ban the ability for anyone other than the official government, like, more official places instead of, independent news sites and whatever. I would not be surprised if Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube banned companies from targeting Ukrainians in particular with content. Maybe having advertisers, like, let's say, like a shampoo company wants to advertise to Ukrainians. Maybe that's not the best time while there's this large-scale conflict going on. Maybe they should only allow the official Ukrainian government to communicate directly en masse with Ukrainian citizens and kind of block everyone else from doing it. Something like that. And it seems like we're moving more and more towards a situation like that. Let's see. So Twitter also confirmed it had taken some action against suspected Russian disinformation on its platform since the invasion when we asked. They have a spokesperson, and they said, yeah, they've taken action against a number of bots as well. So with that being said, albeit if anti-Ukraine psyops was the primary goal of Russian military, TikToking the tactic appears to have entirely failed to hit the mark. So there you go. And what they're saying there is that a lot of the anti-propaganda and, what's actually happening in Ukraine is being shared on TikTok with Russian youth. So there you have it. Okay, Russia stuff aside, that, start the show with that, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to some other topics. This one, if you're a fan of Tesla, you're happy for this. If you're not, story number 3 won't be that interesting to you. But Panasonic will start making Tesla's higher capacity electric vehicle batteries by March 2024. And the image shows the CEO of Panasonic and the 2 different batteries that he's kind of holding up there. Here we go. One in his left hand kind of looks like a thicker AA, and then the one in his the one in his right hand looks like a thicker AA, and the one in his left hand looks like a thicker D cell battery. This thing is much, much bigger. So Panasonic aims to start mass producing of a higher capacity battery for Tesla by March 2024, so still like 2 years away. The company is building a production facility for in their factory, where it will create 2 more production lines and structural improvements. And it's continuing on the 4680 lithium-ion battery. It's expected to be around twice the size of current batteries, so while fewer of them will be required for each car, the batteries could boost the range by over 15%. So just because they're twice the size doesn't mean you'll get twice the range. It just means that instead of needing, let's say 500 of the previous batteries, you only need 300 of the new ones. And on top of that, because of the form factor and how much of the active catalyst in each battery, you improve the range another 15%. Panasonic's announcement lines up with previous reports suggesting it could start making the battery next year. Although, maybe. Well, I guess they could make the battery next year, and then it wouldn't be inside Tesla vehicles until 2024. So, the company said it was investing approximately $700 million into production equipment. It started working on the battery following a request from Tesla, though it may sell the 4680 to other automakers. It would be dumb if if they didn't. Although I'm sure that Tesla's right there in front of them saying, we'll buy your entire inventory. But eventually, I'm sure Panasonic would love to sell this to as many people as they possibly could. But hey, better batteries. Never a bad thing. Okay. We have a long story, a short story, and a long story. So I think we're going to start with the one of the longer stories, and this is about Nvidia. For those who don't know, last week, Nvidia actually had to shut down its facilities because they were hacked. I completely missed it as well, so don't feel bad. But they said that hackers stole top secret GPU details, then Nvidia hit back. And that's the fun part. Nvidia actually took matters into their own hands, and it was pretty cool. So following a cyber attack that took Nvidia systems offline for 2 days last week, the hacking group behind the initial breach has now revealed it has allegedly gained access to over a terabyte of data from the tech giant. And you could imagine, everything from schematic to how how everything works, that could be very valuable technology to, let's say, random company in China that would love to make a competitor to Nvidia. Now, when the attack was originally reported on Friday, there wasn't much information, and they were investigating the incident. However, over the weekend, there were some extremely interesting developments, which includes purported retaliation by Nvidia. And yeah, that's kind of the fun part, isn't it? They said that according to video cards, the group has released the first batch of the leak. The publication sources indicate that partial data included in the package appears to match the claims. There you go. One important piece of data originating from the hack claims it now has in its possession is an LHR v2 bypass for blah, blah, blah. As reported by video cards, that means that the LAPS lapsus located in the main algorithm used to implement the cryptocurrency mining hash rate limiter. Okay, so essentially what they're saying is that they hacked Nvidia, they got the source code, and they're able to now potentially release an update that would remove the crypto mining limiter that Nvidia had put into its cards, so that crypto miners wouldn't purchase them, and more people who play video games could purchase the cards. It says it's currently selling the LHR v2 bypass, but added that the group hopes Nvidia removes it soon. So there you go. Most recently, a tool that claims to remove the mining limit imposed on various GPUs was proven to be malware, but if the hacker's assertion that they stole the algorithm behind the limiter is actually true, then a program to unlock the full mining performance of these video cards could materialize here soon. So there you go. Moreover, let's see, so they're saying that it wants Nvidia to push an update for all 30 series firmware to remove every LHR limitation, and that the company does not meet specific demands. They threaten to leak the HW folder. Essentially, the hacking group wants the ability to fully crypto mine on any Nvidia GPU. If not, they'll leak it themselves and have third parties, make the software to let this run like it's supposed to. Kind of sucks for everyone who was hoping to get a decently priced video card anytime soon, and now these guys are threatening to reopen that old wound of having GPUs used as strictly mining hardware. Now, so they said that a statement from the group elaborated on NVIDIA's actions, apparently confirming that the firm encrypted its hard drives. However, they assert it was able to generate a backup containing the breached data. It seems like NVIDIA was able to hack into the group that had hacked them and encrypted all of the files that they had stolen from NVIDIA. And they said that access to the GPU and chips VPN required the PC to be enrolled in mobile device management. Due to this method that was utilized by the hackers, the firm was able to connect to the virtual machine we use, and they were able to connect back to the breach and encrypt everything. Although they say they have a backup, so. They said that either way, it's unheard of for a company of NVIDIA's size to initiate its own counter-assault of this nature, regardless of whether it was in the form of a hack or not. As for NVIDIA's acknowledgement of the proposed exploits, it confirmed it is investigating an incident and said that the company filed an abuse report for this. So I think with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap that one up there, but NVIDIA trying its best, and clearly, that is the point of the mobile device management software that they use to connect remotely into NVIDIA servers, is that if something were to happen, they have a certain level of control of the information that is pulled from their servers, and they went back and encrypted it through that software. Sounds like it wasn't a perfect match. It didn't perfectly work if they're able to get a backup, and these hackers, obviously, once you have the data, you don't just let it sit on a singular hard drive and call it a day. No, you make backups, and you make sure that you have that data in triplicate. So we'll see. Personally, I really hope that these idiots did lose all the data. NVIDIA put those limiters on video cards for a reason, and that is crypto miners just bought every single available GPU on the market just so they could make a buck, and at the detriment of everyone else. So, yep, we'll see what happens with that, but there you go. Story number 4. Story number 5, this one's a bit shorter, and it's because, well, it's still developing. We just really don't know that much about it. Toyota, speaking of hacking, shuts down all Japanese production after being hacked. So this affects about 14 factories, which is a third of Toyota's global production. Not good. Not good. They said that the world's largest automaker is suspending production at a third of its facilities. The company in question is called Kojima Industries, which makes composite and plastic parts for Toyota, both for car interiors and also parts for Toyota's hybrid and fuel cell electric vehicles. Consequently, Toyota will halt 28 production lines at 14 factories across Japan. There you go. Toyota is becoming quite the frequent target for hackers. It was compromised at least 3 times in 2019, and including a malware attack in Australia, a breach of 3.1 million customer data in Japan, and a scam that cost a subsidiary about $37 million. So there you go. But it's also not the only automaker. They also reported that Honda had to stop making cars in Ohio. And it seems like hackers know, and they moved on from energy a little bit. I'm sure that they're still targeting, oil pipelines and energy grids and stuff like that. But they're also moving on to, car manufacturing. Just anything with billions of dollars in assets that they can hack, that they can take down. That's going to be a very attractive target. Even if the monetary value isn't immediate, disruption is key. So yeah, there you go. We'll see more who's behind that and what they want, but for now, production halted, and that's not going to help the car industry at all. So, this next article. Okay, let's see, when was this published? Okay, published yesterday. We should cover it. I wanted to keep it short, so we're going to try to skim through this as best we can, but ladies and gentlemen, if there was ever, if Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine, this story might have been the top of the headlines for weeks. And I gotta say, for Ericsson, thank goodness for Russia. Check this out. This is a follow-up to a story that broke a couple of weeks ago, in which Ericsson, if you have not heard about them, they sell radio antenna, 5G equipment, stuff like that, to countries all over the world. And Ericsson is one of the biggest providers of 5G antennas in the EU. Canada famously dropped all Huawei antenna and Chinese-made antennas for Ericsson. Essentially, if you want 5G equipment, it's either Ericsson or China, and China with Huawei and other companies like that. Well, you think that you're doing good by, not buying into the spying ring that is China and Chinese telecom companies, but then Ericsson goes and pulls a stunt like this. And this is back in 2019, where they had a couple of payments to this little organization called ISIS, or Islamic State. And the leak of internal investigation at Ericsson, which also found that the firm had put its contractors at risk and allowed them to be kidnapped by militants, is potentially damaging for the multinational. Yep, you heard that right. Allowed them to be kidnapped by the militants. Not good. In addition to the findings about the alleged payments to Islamic State, the investigator uncovered allegations that the company was involved in corruption in at least 10 countries across 4 continents. Yep. So they admitted to wrongdoing back in 2019, but the allegations go back between 2011 and 2019. This one's bad. This is really bad. And again, if it weren't for Russia, this would be headlines everywhere. Investigators concluded that the multinational firm was likely to have been involved in channeling bribes to Islamic State to allow its products to be transported across parts of Iraq that were held by terrorists. The payments were made through a slush fund run by contractors working for the Swedish multinational, according to investigators. So there you go. So in a statement, Ericsson said that the investigation team had identified payments to intermediaries in the use of alternate transport routes to connections with circumventing Iraqi customs at a time when terrorist organizations controlled some transport routes. by and large, just like how tech companies today, and this is why I wanted to praise tech companies for what they're doing. Tech companies can say, we're here to do business. We don't care. We're just trying to get things done. And I feel like that's the approach that Ericsson took for the past 10 years. They didn't care about what was happening in Iraq. They didn't care about what was happening in, Indonesia, in China, in Vietnam, in Kuwait. They don't care. They're just trying to do business. Ericsson said it published the statement because it was committed to transparency, and they declined to answer questions from multiple outlets. But they were paying terrorists that were killing Americans and killing innocent people to transport their goods. And I know it's sometimes hard to determine who the good guy is and who the bad guy is, and if you should be paying bribes to known terrorist organizations to transport your antennas to places that you want to do business in. But it looks really bad in hindsight when you don't make that decision correctly. So they mentioned that they chronicle suspicious payments totaling at least $37 million in Iraq, along with a range of alleged misconduct such as inflated invoices and paying officials to go on holidays to Spain and Sweden. In Lebanon, the company allegedly used a slush fund to give gifts, entertainment, and hospitality to members of the government between 2010 and 2019. The total size of the slush fund appears to be $800,000, and they also allegedly paid in Bahrain and Angola. So clearly they were bribing anyone and everyone to get their equipment where it needed to be. And I'm sure at the time it was, to a company the size of Ericsson, not that big a deal. But the money that that was being channeled through this for, again, not to do business, but to strictly pay bribes and pay, for holidays and stuff like that, was going to fund terrorism. And that's the problem. So they mentioned that the investigators found 18 invoices that had been paid by Ericsson to one of the suppliers to transport equipment on trucks through Iraq. The payments were 3 times higher than the normal cost of hiring these trucks, and for one consignment, it was 20 times the usual cost. So clearly, this was a bribe. So the investigators who questioned Ericsson employees and associates added there were numerous interviews stating that it was more important to do business and deliver to customers than ensuring the transportations were conducted according to laws and regulation. As I said before, sometimes companies just want to do business. They don't care about terrorism. They don't care about who is running these networks, if they're paying bribes, if they're paying 3, 5, 10, 20 times the amount that they should be. It's just, hey, business is king. Business is more important. Yeah. And like I said, maybe it's hard to tell. Maybe your moral compass is so skewed, it's hard to tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. But when you have a pretty clear indication that, these people are terrorists or these people are the aggressors, maybe it's time to step up and stop saying, business is business. We just need to do what we need to do. That's when you need to step up. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap that up there. And, just kind of say that one of the contractors who was kidnapped told a reporter working in Germany that he had felt pressure from Ericsson and his firm to continue working, saying, quote, "There were pressures on us. Either you continue to work, either that you continue to work or the contract would be withdrawn. Ericsson put pressure on my company and my company put pressure on us as a team." So, he was kept under house arrest by Islamic State for a month, during which Ericsson staff turned off their phones and did not answer his calls for help. So luckily he was let go, but Yeah, stuff's crazy. Everyone, that's about it for the day. Stay safe. Have a good one. Catch you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.